If you've clicked on this video, there's a very good chance that this is a direct communication, or an indirect communication actually, from the divine to you, because I've found that, and I mentioned this on my last video, that I keep getting messages, and I said to the divine many years ago that as you teach me, I'll teach others what you've taught me. Whatever lessons I receive, whatever guidance I receive, providing it's like fruitful, and I think that people would gain a lot of value from it, I'll spread it on, I'll share it, and I'll make videos and things like that. So if you've clicked on this video, there's a very good chance that the message I'm about to share is going to be of some use to you in your life right now. So the kind of story that I want to start with is how I became totally consumed in the world when I was about 20 years old. And it wasn't a bad thing, but it was just that stage of life that I was at, that period of my life. And I was about 19. I'd spent a long time going out all the time, chasing girls, drinking a lot, even smoking, believe it or not, and occasionally dabbling with drugs as well. I was very easily led, I think, at that age. So when I reached about 19, I decided that I wanted to make a big change in my life, and I signed up for a triathlon. And I spent then the next probably 4 or 5 years immersed in triathlon. I ended up racing all around the world. Well, not all around the world, but around the world. I ended up racing at a national level in half Ironman, which is, if you don't know the distances, I did a full Ironman, which is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then a full 26.2 mile marathon. But I then realized that I was a specialist at the half distance. So I could very quickly race a 1.2 mile swim, which is the equivalent of about 75 lengths in a 25 meter pool, 56 mile bike ride, and then a 13.1 mile run, so a half marathon. And I would complete that in about, I think my fastest time was 2:07, something like that. So it became very quick basically over that distance. But throughout that time, I was absolutely immersed in life. I was absolutely immersed in getting up every morning, swimming, cycling, running, all around work. So my days were filled up with this, and I didn't really give much time throughout that period to my spiritual life. So I occasionally meditated, but it wasn't dedicated work. I wasn't giving much time to myself spiritually. And life was good in as much as I enjoyed it, but like everything that is within the world, it came to an end. I got an injury and I couldn't race anymore. So my whole direction in life was taken away in an instant. And what I started to realize from that point on, I did immerse myself more in my spiritual life again, like I had when I was younger, is that I started to realize that the divine is constant, but our endeavors in life, whether it's relationships, whether it's work, whether it is traveling, they're temporary. The divine is permanent, but the world, our experiences in it, are temporary. And I was just stood by the water. I'm in India at the moment, going from different ashrams and meditating a lot and immersing myself basically in a spiritual life more than it is possible at home. And I was stood by the water's edge, and actually they're not letting people in the sea at the moment because the water is too dangerous basically. A couple of people have died apparently. And I was stood by the water's edge, which you are allowed to do, and as the water came in and past my ankles and then it pulled back again, I could feel such a strong pull on the water. And it just occurred to me, this video dropped into my mind at that moment, it occurred to me that it reminded me of the pull of the world and our responsibility to keep one step in God or the divine or our spiritual life and another step in the world. Because if you put both feet in the world, or you get consumed too deeply in the world, that's when you get drawn in and consumed, and it's very hard at that point to get out again. So as Jesus said, be in the world but not of the world. And in that moment when I was on this water's edge, I was on the beach, but my feet were in the water, so I was experiencing the sea, I was experiencing the coolness, I was experiencing the feeling of it, but I wasn't consumed by the sea. And I think it just reminded me in that moment so strongly that that's our job spiritually, is to be in the world but not of the world, to have a family, to go to work, to have hobbies if you want to have hobbies, to enjoy yourself, but not allow those things to consume you so much that you forget who you are, because you're forgetting actually the truth of who you are in that moment. You know, when you're consumed in the world and you're consumed in for my sake, Ben in this body and Ben's interests and Ben's hobbies, I'm getting consumed in the actor, but I'm playing a role in this body and you're playing a role in your body. And the role, as you're playing that role, you've got to remember who you are. You know, at the end of each day, an actor has to go back to who they really are. And for us, we can be in the world, but we have to remember at all times who we are. And many of the great teachers around the world talk about this. Mother Meera talks about this. Baba talks about this. The Shivapuri Baba talks about this. My teacher spoke about this. I've experienced this, and I'm now telling you about it, which is we have to become masters of balancing our two lives and being in the world, going to work, having hobbies, doing all those things, but then at the same time, spending some time meditating, having the divine on your mind, so remembering the divine, having a name of the divine that works for you. It might just be the repetition of the divine, or it might be like Krishna or Jesus or something else, and you remember those things. And so this is the message that I wanted to share to you today. I hope it's of value. I think it will be if you've clicked on this video and you've watched it to this point. I think it's something that you really need to learn or know about, is finding that balance. And I wish you all the best with that. For those people who want to learn more about meditation or need some guidance spiritually, I do have an online school which has now like 450 plus amazing students all around the world. A link to that is in the description below. Feel free to join if you're interested. But failing that, I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.